the nature of our business of transportation and logistics is so ground level up that you have to touch the earth, you have to touch the ground first.
Well, just let me turn the page a little bit, because while you were doing all this and growing the company to one of the leading players in the industry, if not number one itself, you also found time to get involved with ASSOCHAM, to get involved with the AIMA, and really spend a lot of your time and energy in helping young business leaders. So let me start with the YLC at AIMA, because that to me is very, very fascinating. It's a very unique kind of initiative. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm cheating a little bit because I do know personally, but for the benefit of our viewers, let's hear it from you.
So I think giving back is, I think, a part of our own culture, my family culture for a long time. My grandfather started, when he started the company in 1958, after the first money he made, I think the mid-60s or whenever, he went back to his village and started constructing wells or doing all kinds of charitable activities. So that fact that we have to do something for the society exists irrespective of whether the government says you have to do CSR or not. So we've been doing this for now decades. Mm-hmm. And I think the other activities that we do in the family, we run a sports institute for India's first rural sports institute. We run artificial limb centers, schools, and so on and so forth. But beyond that, at some point, one has to start also looking at our own industry, the business community as well. And in that sense, one of the selfish goals around this was that it will also help gain recognition for our company when we look at the business communities, etc. And of course, certainly it is important to now think about our organization, TCI, as an institution, more like instead of a company. And since there are many other transport and logistics companies that look up to us in terms of what we are doing and what are our policies and systems. So in that context, I've been working closely with the All India Management Association, and we created something called the YLC, which is the Young Leaders Council. This is open to everyone at between the ages of 25 to 40. And we created various chapters, but because of COVID, what we've now pivoted to is actually special interest groups. Special interest groups for HR, for tech startups, for marketing and communications, for social businesses. So you get into one of those groups and you have like-minded people who are, or people wanting to know more about that specific area. You can have a conversation, there are events around it and so on. And then we also launched a mentor-mentee program where we are seeing there are lots of people who are looking for that kind of a response today, because there's so much happening from a personal and professional life that I think people are losing out in terms of the human connections more and more. And from that comes out the fact that who is going to counsel me, who is going to talk to me more and more. And that's why we felt that the mentor-mentee program link up entrepreneurs to people, entrepreneurs or business heads or people in various domains to people who are seeking these menteeship roles. So it has been quite useful and extremely good for I think now we are close to 500 members nationally.
That's fantastic. And look again, the YLC, and it's a great pleasure to be able to contribute personally in a small way into that forum as well. I think it does a human service for folks, and I noticed there's a lot of people from tier 2 and tier 3 cities on that, and they are the folks who typically are more staffed for this kind of advice and input. So it really is commendable, and all power to you. But we share a reading habit, and you're quite the bibliophile. Tell us a little bit about what you're reading now, and I think you shared with me that you have a very unique, not unique, but an interesting sort of filter that you apply before you buy a book. So do share that with us.
So Reading has been one of my biggest passions, I think, for the longest time. And what I realized was that there were so many books to read. It just was becoming impossible to keep up or keep a track. And there's always a new bestseller. There's always something new or something or the other someone recommends. And there had to be some filter. And so I calculated that if one was reading about 20 books a year on an average, if you're working and doing things, the average, most people would end up reading 20-25 books a year. In 60 years of active reading, you're going to read about 1200 to 1500 books. That's it in your lifetime. So you cannot pick up anything. You just have to be very, very careful of what book you're going to buy or use or read or whatever, because it's just too much there and you have very limited time. So I created a filter where I follow certain channels like Goodreads and others where up till if there is not a certain amount of rankings or ratings that says more than 4.0 or above with more than 2,500 ratings, I have not touched that book because it's just impossible. And I think that has really helped. I've been reading some phenomenal books, and you can follow me on Goodreads. You can see the kind of books I've been reading on a regular basis. Currently, I just finished a book called The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan. Again, a fascinating book on essentially not just the Silk Roads in terms of the impact of the real Silk Roads, but the impact of the history that got created around it. And it's just amazing, what happened in the Crusades to what happened with the British and the Chinese. And now then the Chinese starting the Belt Road Initiative, the BRI, and the linkages with that. So really, really awesome.
Kind of building a bridge between what happened before and what might happen 25 years from now. That's fascinating.
But still fascinating. And
that's a very interesting approach to choosing what you want to read, though. I must admit, in all my years, you're quite unique in that approach. And obviously, it makes all the sense in the world, especially when, you kind of give us that startling but very true input that you've got about 1,000 books in your entire life if you're an avid reader. So choose carefully. So thank you for that.
And that applies incidentally, Jaideep, also to what TV shows you're watching. So you go to IMDb or some other ranking system, Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, but find a point where you want to decide that I want to see only above this. Because I think ultimately quality is more important than quantity.
That's true, yeah. And I must tell you that most of my TV watching involves Manchester United football matches and in the Indian cricket team. So the former hasn't been doing too well over the last 5 years, but one's watching anyway because you have to. And of course, our cricket team has been doing wonderfully well, so it's been much more fun watching them. But personally, I watch the odd show here and there, but I'm really a live sports kind of guy. So I'm really starved these days of quality material. So I'm looking forward to more sports on the telly. The Premier League just finished, but that's a conversation for another time. Let me just turn the page again, Vineet, right? And ultimately, I am a tech guy, as it were, though I'm not a technologist. But technology has always fascinated me, and the logistics space, the transportation industry, is one of the areas which has been massively, I would say, positively impacted and also disrupted by the emergence of digital technologies. Whether it be the mobility-related technologies, starting from just simple, vehicle tracking systems and so on, and now the first set of autonomous trucks being road tested in Europe, to all kinds of other amazing technology. You've got devices now in the cabins of trucks to track whether a driver is getting drowsy and stuff like that, and how they're driving, cold chain connectivity. And I know you've been doing a lot of amazing things in TCI. I remember many years ago reading that you kind of created a triple deck trailer for motorcycles and increased capacity per trailer for transporting motorcycles for your customers. So tell us a little bit about the technology journey that TCI has been through, And what are the steps you're taking, in the context of a digital journey today? How's that been?
We had taken those IBM punching card machines in the 70s, which used to cover a whole room. So we had those, so we've been very tech oriented for the longest time. And I think we had a person who used to be head of MIS and systems in the 80s. So like this, the journey has been quite good, and really we are in the tech age right now, and we cannot be away from technology in any aspect of our business. So whether our cold chain trucks have a temperature sensor along with the GPS, so you can check the temperature sitting at your office. For many of our customers, has been a boon. Not only that, but they've been able to see that the variation in the temperature has not been high, because there are sometimes truck drivers who switch off the engine. And so, when you get a ice cream block and you find chunks of ice in them, it's because the ice cream has...
the engine was switched off, huh?
So the ice cream has actually melted and frozen again.
Terrible.
So like this, and especially when you're carrying medicines, vaccines, etc., is very critical to ensure that your temperature is maintained. And that's the kind of high quality precision services that we offer. And so that, and then looking at how we are now making investments into startups as well in the tech space, and always had a very, very strong tech orientation. We have more than 40 developers in the company that are engaged in internal development. So we've created our own ERP systems. We have we have created a digital transformation team, which are looking into how things can internally we can make changes or create systems and processes where we get an exponential return, not incremental return. So we have several DT projects that are underway in the company. And then we are looking at, of course, some of these new startups that are competitors. What can we learn from them? Because they are backed today by a lot of money. How much are they? How long will they last? Or what will their final orientation be? But certainly they do come with better technology in some types of better technology. Can we use that more effectively? Can we use data analytics better? So all of these things are an ongoing process and something very dear to us and very important to us. I think one of the other areas is the fact that how can we raise the overall technology mindset of people? Because as I said, we have guys who are running at the smallest branch level to at the corporate level. How can that branch fellow feel that his ease of doing business or his ease of working at the company improves? So we have given him apps at his level. If he has to put up a truck, he takes a photograph of the truck driver. He uploads it with what we call as the manifest or the challan. Almost all decision making for the next level guys are through their mobiles. They can track the trucks on the mobiles. They have all customer information. We have an app for customer. So all of these things are now getting integrated, not just at the top level from a MIS and analytics perspective, but at the bottom level as well for ease of doing business.
So you've embedded them in your core business processes, right?
Absolutely.
And it's really interesting. And I want to touch upon, you talked about some of the new age competitors, and they've been, high profile, a lot of coverage in the press, some interesting business models, especially on paper. But to the best of my knowledge, after several years of operations, none of them are in any danger of making a profit anytime soon. So when you talk about sustainability, that is a key question. But give us maybe one or two things that you may have learned from that. And I guess the lesson to me, which I've, when I speak to many of your peers who are running, what are so-called legacy companies, I prefer to call you successful industry leaders. They do look at some of the newcomers and say, look, let's not poo-poo them. Let's look at what we can learn from them, and kind of adapt and kind of bring into our own ecosystem what's good. So, anything that you spotted?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that we're keeping our eyes and ears open to. I personally go and meet more than 50 to 75 customers a year. Of course, I've not been able to now, but and this is to find out what is happening with our competitor, I mean, not only with the customers, but what is happening with the competitors. And certainly the feedback over the last 2-3 years is that, look at these guys, they're doing such fabulous stuff, etc. By the way, they're also not collecting payments. So that's why we love to work with them. So I said
that you run a business without collecting payments here.
So I guess they have a lot of money to burn. But I think what happened was that they did show us things that they are doing better. And one of the clear areas that I mentioned, data analytics. And the UX UI that they had was definitely better than what we were showing to our customers. So I think that was a huge learning, and that helped us to change our own customer app and the orientation that we had towards customers. And we are seeing that many of them are back with us because they have realized that it's not just at one time, but it's the consistency of service, the consistency of response, and the discipline in your operations. How strong is that? So that you are able to continuously help the customer. Even at this COVID time, from middle of April, we had activities that had started. We were moving food grains for our customers. We moved more than 3 lakh tons of food grains in the first quarter.
Wow, that's a lot of trucks here.
Trucks by ship, by rail, so by all modes of transport. So it's that trust factor that existed, that yes, we can do it. The government trusts us. We are moving, I can't tell you what, but we're moving stuff even to Leh right now. We're moving stuff, we used to move currency for the government. So I think it's that overall ethos that you are always available, you are a trustworthy company, you have the discipline, and there are certain things that you need to improve. Yes, we are learning from you, we are listening to you, and we are helping.
That's fantastic, Vineet. In the course of the various episodes in the show, I've had the opportunity to interview a number of business leaders, and it's quite interesting how all successful CEOs have such an awareness of what the customer wants. It's a cliche, right? But what I note is that there is an intuitive understanding of the importance of being there for your customer, especially during tough times. And I think it's a lesson for all new age entrepreneurs and emerging leaders and young business leaders, some of the YLC members, to really never get caught up in your own mythology and always keep your eye focused on what your customers need, and especially when the times are tough. Because I think that's when customers realize who are the trustworthy partners and who are simply vendors. Right?
And I have to say that our team really stepped up. I mean, all across people were afraid, but our boys everywhere, all across the country, they were available on. So we took the next step that if we cannot go to the customer, what else can we do? So in the first quarter, April, May, June, we made 63,000 calls to customers. Wow. Just to ask them how you're doing, what's up, can we help you? So I think it's just been phenomenal in terms of the effort put in by the team.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I think another lesson there in terms of also getting the team to push together and be customer focused. So in conclusion, Vineet, when we think about the next 2 decades, the transformation of your industry and the logistics space, the supply chain space continues apace. If anything, it seems to be accelerating around the world. And no doubt, we will come back as India and as the world economically from the challenges that COVID has created. But as this is happening, next generation transportation networks are coming through. As I mentioned earlier, autonomous trucks are now on the roads in Europe in many cases. Though I do wonder how they'll do on the Indian highways, and we can chuckle about that. But when you think, you've done a quarter of a century and you've hopefully got another 25, 30 years ahead of you. What excites you about the future? And I think I'd love to take that as closing remarks as we wind up this particular episode. What's exciting and what do you see for yourself in the next 24, 25 years?
Yeah, I think 25 years ago, people ask me, why have you come back? Why you have opportunities to work overseas? Why did you come back? And why is it that you want to be in India? And I said that time, the opportunities that I'm seeing is just phenomenal. We as a company might move more than 2.5% of India's GDP today, but it's minuscule. It's nothing in terms of market share or business share. What do I see for the next 25 years? That same opportunity that exists. If India has to achieve its dream of $5 trillion economy, clearly this logistics industry is going to grow. And I can take hundreds of statistics from different parts of the world. One quick one is in China, there are more than 110 million packages, including those food items, etc., getting delivered daily. Daily, 110 million.
Wow.
Do you know that number in India is only 11 million? Okay. So if we have to look at, even if we get to 50% of what China is doing, the kind of growth potential that our country has is just phenomenal. So clearly, I think the next 2 decades, 3 decades, India has a huge potential, and I'm betting on that absolutely. And then personally, I think in that journey, one of the things that I always look and think about, and I think Martin Luther King, who said this, was that if you cannot do great things, keep doing small things in a great way. Can I do small things in a great way? So something or the other can we keep doing on a consistent basis with a learning mindset that, I'm learning something with it, I'm growing with it. I think this journey will be quite easy, I would say, fulfilling and fruitful.
Vineet, doing small things in a great way, that's an uplifting message, an inspirational message, and a great place to wind up our conversation today. Thank you so much for taking out time for us at the Corner Office Conversations. It's been wonderful chatting with you and taking a walk through your career and through the logistics and supply chain industry, and so many interesting things going on. And all the best, both for the short term and for the longer term. And we look forward to seeing many more exciting innovations coming out of TCI, and wish you and your team all the success in the world. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to you and your team.